And we have with us the absolutely gorgeous lady who, after being crowned Miss India, has done everything, right from getting a pilot certification, oh my God, okay, I saw the eye roll, to driving a Formula E car on a racetrack. She causes. Let's put our hands together for Gul Panag and VJ, who broke the internet with his hilarious but crisply shot videos, I must say. And of course, he's also known for his podcast, which is titled Khan Masti with comedian Suresh Menon, a compilation of very funny, provocative snippets from conversations between co-workers at a radio station. Let's give it up for Jose Covaco. And we're also joined this evening, entrepreneur, a best-selling author. This year, in fact, she's even listed among the prestigious Forbes India W Power Trailblazers. And her book, titled To the Moon, How I Blogged My Way to Bollywood, is really an inspiration for many aspiring bloggers. Let's put our hands together for Malini Agarwal.
The anonymity of social media, because you're sitting in the cool confines of your room, sometimes you don't have a name also attached to you. AC chal rahi hai, you're getting localized, what do you call it, conditioned air. Mama aake paratha de rahi hai. So all of this adds to a lot of, bravado, that you have. And then you become this warrior. Phir aapko lagta hai, aap Dara Singh ko aap tod sakte ho. That's what social media does to you. That's what, the anonymity of social media does to you. Now, this can have two broad impacts. One is, you can, take it very, very positively. You can become a Pratik Sinha or a Meghnad, some people who are, part of our nominees list and who are doing some great work, taking on people, But if it is left unchecked, it can have an extremely sad impact. It can make you into a very negative person, And the problem with that is that you end up becoming an irritating, offensive, provocative son of a, okay, whatever. And when its whole intent is to provoke others, is to elicit an emotional response from others. And again, you guys are more than used to it. So, Twinkle, I'll actually start with you. You're funny, you're opinionated, you are a writer, you are a film actor, you have pronounced filmy affiliations, and you're a woman. Does it make you a living, breathing, moving bullseye for the trolls? What's your take on it?
I don't know if I'm a bullseye for trolls. They come along, and they do that to everybody. Yeah. And people who take trolls seriously, I would say, are rather foolish. I mean, they're like cockroaches. Once in a while, you spray hate, and they scamper out of your way, and you go on. But I do look at criticism and I examine it very carefully. Sometimes it is valid and it always tells me something about the world around me or myself. But I'm not going to really listen to somebody who can't even spell my name and calls me Twinkle. I really don't care what they say.
Okay, Gul, I would love to hear from you. You, apart from being all that you are, and you're so many things, I don't even know how do you manage to be so many things being one person. You also have pronounced political affiliations, yeah? Now, is the attack on you more, are the attacks on you more pronounced, more, organized? How have you dealt with it? What do you want to say about that,
I think the moment you take a position on anything, you set yourself up for an attack, either from people who disagree with you or people who just don't like the fact that you've taken a position. Because traditionally, women, and more so those who belong, so to speak, to the film industry, are not entitled to have an opinion. And that's something that's discouraged. It's changing now, but that was something that was discouraged even within the industry. As a result of which, what one sees is that the moment you've taken a position, you're going to have a bunch of people disagree with you. Sure. Some people will disagree with you in a manner which is probably fact-based or has a certain argument or two, which is, like just Twinkle rightly said, is worth examining and seeing that maybe your own argument in this particular case is flawed. But some people are out there just to get after you. Now, there's a couple categories. One is the ones who can't spell your name right. That's the kinds you don't engage with. Two is the kind who hurl abuse at you and physical harm at you. I've had people threaten the vilest things, threaten me with the vilest things. My father, who's also very, very outspoken, him, my brother, again, all of us are very, very outspoken, with very strong views on things. So the trick, in my opinion, is to have a thick skin. Many years ago, I would let a lot of people get under my skin, a lot of people. Now, I take things in my stride. I believe that is, having people come at you because of your views is something that's going to happen anyway.
Sure.
The important thing is to reserve the right to examine yourself and see whether you could perhaps take a better position. And the other thing is never, ever, ever lose your cool. Because too many of us have lost the moral high ground when we've resulted in or reduced ourselves to the trolls' vocabulary. So I always choose the charming route. No matter how much somebody will abuse me, I will at best say, you're very well brought up. But I will never abuse online. I will never let go of the moral high ground and give and cede that to the troll. And I think that's the only way you're able to slay them with a bit of charm and some borrowed wit, which, of course, one would find in ample on Twinkle's timeline. So I think that's the way forward. They are going to be there. They aren't going to run away.
True.
And there are organized attacks, especially when so there's something, and it has something to do with your political affiliations, of course, but it also has something to do with you taking a position which is contrary to the majoritarian one, and then the bugle is sounded, and they come and hunt you in packs. So the hounds come, and they come and hunt you in packs. So I think you've just got to be aware that these are hounds that are hunting. You've got to be the fox and not maneuver them.
But in some cases, it becomes slightly scary. So there's this quaint journalist who wrote a piece on the entire Facebook event that they wanted to do, where the Bolna Auntie Aun Kya, that Om Prakash Mishra, the singer, people wanted to come gather at a place and, So she wrote against it. She said that it was a misogynistic song and the man has, he should not be promoted, he should not be encouraged. And they, gathered at various Facebook forums, and then they decided to give it back to her, gave her rape threats, gave her death threats, and it became they had to file a police case and all, So it ceased to be just one guy trying to act cocky with you, a guy trying to act smart with you. It kind of translated into something really, really sad, and they took her picture, morphed her, and, you started using her on social media. So she went through a huge, issue, Sorry.
I think that is a lacuna in the way social media platforms function, because typically this kind of abuse is aggregated on mediums like Twitter and Facebook, and more often than not, the position taken by the platforms is that you have to take a long, arduous route via the cyber cell and register complaints and deal with it the way the law would have you deal with it. So the fact is that we live in a real world. When you're putting yourself out there, you have to be prepared for people who are not going to say flattering things. And I just want to open the conversation up a little bit from trolls specifically to anybody saying things to you that are unkind or unpleasant. And a lot of famous people have actually left Twitter because in the past, we've had a sort of interaction which was tempered and filtered. So publicists helped you make sure that there weren't too many acrimonious or anti-pieces written about you and everything was in a controlled environment. Here comes social media where it sort of democratized the ability to have a conversation and say things about you. And suddenly you do get your bouquets, but you also get a significant number of brickbats. Now coming back to being a woman on social media, there are going to be people who will say stuff to you. There's no getting away from that. And I think you've got to, I mean, I don't want to use the word toughen up, but you've got to have the ability to dismiss and discount. And when there is serious bodily harm intended or threatened, then you have to have what it takes to take the fight to its logical conclusion. And that's where a lot of us give up. Because the process of going to a police station, registering an FIR is arduous. And our law enforcement mechanism isn't the easiest to deal with. So if anybody who's ever gone into a police station, try and get an FIR registered, even for a phone that's been taken from your hands. I think I'm dominating and monopolizing the mic. I have to let go in a second. But we don't see these things through. Sure. And because we don't see these things through, we don't have very many people actually being deterred by it. So today, anybody can hurl abuses and bodily harm and threats and threats of rape and the like, and get away with it because no one has the intent to go follow the course, go to the cop station, get it done, be like, yeah, you know, it's so inconvenient, let me block him. So I think therein lies half of the problem. Sure. So we've got to discount some, and then if you really feel threatened, you've got to go out there and make sure that you get this guy.
Sure, sure. Malini, you don't have any political affiliations, you know. You don't have any political affiliations at all, and yet you also, you know, have your own, you know, face your own share of trolls. Are most trolls trolling you in particular, or a lot of people like you, is because they can never become you? Is it because they're jealous of your success, of you? Would you actually attribute it to that they're plain jealous?
You know, I think if you sort of zoom out and think about it, why people troll people, it's not really about you at all. It's about them. And you have to look at it this way. So the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference. So there's two ways that you need to look at trolls. One, and what we tend to do is we try to kill them with kindness, and sometimes we try to use humor. But the point is that you have to try to zoom out and approach people who troll you with a shield of empathy and kindness. This is not for them, it's for you. To try to understand that whatever this person is, for whatever reason they're coming and saying nasty things to you, it's really something that's going on with them.
Sure.
So what we try to do is stay above the fray and ignore it, or we kill them with kindness however we can. My mother is really good at this because my mother spends a lot of time on social media trolling my trolls. So somebody put up a picture, I put up a picture and someone commented saying, Malini, you're looking old. So my mother wrote, so what? You're getting younger, then you're going to turn into a baby, and then what? You know, so I thought it was amazing. And I think the thing is that, one, you have to have thick skin. Two, you have to not take yourself so seriously. Because at the end of the day, what matters, right? Just like Twinkle said, the people who matter are the ones that you care about, the ones whose opinions you care about. And yes, people troll us for various reasons. I get trolled if I put up a picture of a particular actress. The other actresses' fan clubs will say, how much did she pay you? You know? So we'll get a lot of, I'm like, if everyone paid me, I would be on a yacht. Have you seen my car? It's so busted. No, so it's like literally a lot of that kind of trolling. Then they'll be trolling about, Malini, why do you only put pictures of yourself up, you know, talking to celebrities, or whatever the thing is. And I think it comes down to very often just loneliness. And I've realized when I reply to some of the trolls, they get so happy that I said something, you know, in response to them. So I'll say whatever in response, thanks for dropping by, sorry you felt bad or you didn't like it. And then they'll be really nice back, you know? Yeah. So I think it's really about people, it's a cry for attention, and it's something that's going on in their minds. And I think that's the way you have to approach it.
To reply, like for example, now the way things work is if a verified account replies to a tweet, that tweet will be at the top of the timeline. Mm-hmm. So everybody who's reading it will see that first. So let's say someone tweeted some fake news, and you decide to ignore that. That's a bad idea, because then everybody's just sharing that and sharing that. And the first reply should ideally be the truth. So sometimes I will go out of my way to reply to something that I think needs an answer, or that I think people should see. But otherwise, most of the time, I think you should ignore.
ఈ వీడియో గనుక మీకు నచ్చినట్లయితే
లైక్ చేయండి,
షేర్ చేయండి
అండ్ సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేయండి.